Good morning, everybody. My name's Ty Myers with Actify. Introduce part of our team. Now, so you know, we have people that are online. That's why I'm wearing the mic, and you probably don't hear speakers in this room. But we have people that are joining in remotely from around the country. Gentleman over here to the right is Chris Jones, our CEO, president of the company of Actify. We have Carissa Moreau sitting up here. Jim Vassell is going to be doing our demonstration, and Mark Poloni. We're all with Actify. In addition, in the back, we have John. He's the chairman of SimData. He's going to be speaking today for us. And I'll just mention, too, we have a couple other kind of friends in the family thing from Actify. Sarge, which is with Campfire, another software vendor, and Ed with IQMS is here today. We're going to be speaking first. I'll be talking about achieving progress with Actify and product data intelligence. When we'll have a short break, then go into the dynamic real-world use cases of PDI, and then a presentation or PDI presentation, industry trends with SimData when John will be speaking for us, and then a lunch break. This afternoon, then we'll be into doing Spinfire training and hands-on learning, basically in the afternoon for any of those that want to join. And I know we have a lot more that are going to be joining online that are users for that. Actify is a company we've been around for over 20 years. We've been in the visualization business. We're the largest independent visualization company. So we're vendor neutral, meaning when I say vendor neutral, we handle all types of CAD data. So whether it's CATIA 4, 5, 6, it's ideas, going back in time to the ideas system. You're smiling, do you see that? AutoCAD, Unigraphics, ProEngineer, SolidWorks, Solid Edge, etc. But we've expanded from that into handling all types of information. So we're vendor neutral we work with any type of application that's out there or data source, even including spreadsheets. Okay, so hopefully everybody online can see the slides that we're going to be talking about. Actify only works with discrete manufacturers. That is our focus industry. We don't try to be a solution for all industries. We want to be very focused because we care about companies that are dealing with products. So a typical account that we're dealing with goes from a concept stage to prototype stage and into production. And along that way, there's a lot of information that's being generated. So before you ever get to what you see a red line there and a sales order, you're going to have requirements, specifications, product definitions, maybe the CAD data starts coming in. GD&T information for production is being hidden inside those CAD models. EBOM information, they could be in spreadsheets, PowerPoints, could be a PDF file with specifications. So all that information, once you win the sales order, so often customers are looking backwards trying to find that information, especially in what we call the SMB or small to medium-sized companies, manufacturers. They haven't invested into the larger PLM, PDM type applications. There's a smaller percentage that have, or if you get into the larger companies, they may have invested into it, but not all that information gets shared with everybody. Okay, so once that sales order occurs, a part number, which is how most manufacturers track information, is generated. But now we need to associate that other information so that they can get to work. Otherwise, they're looking back and just don't know where to find the right version or what piece to be with. So, those are some of the obstacles that people are running into, but to survive and thrive, we realize a team must row in the same direction. We talk about initiatives. Every time we go into customers, we start finding out the business initiatives they have, and they're usually centered around collaboration, increasing efficiencies, reducing costs, those types of concerns. How can we improve that? Well, rowing in the same direction makes a lot of sense, but if you start putting in tools that can't be shared across, which means the information can't be shared, then you're actually defeating the idea of collaboration, and you're reducing down the efficiencies. Everyone needs to be able to get to the required information, make sure that it's up to date. So often you see static spreadsheets within manufacturing. Well, the concept is, okay, if I put data in a spreadsheet, once I've created that spreadsheet, how do I get it to other people? Well, typically you're going to make copies of that same file and now you're going to start passing it around. And being a static document, as soon as it's created, it's now basically out of date. So when are you using the right version? Who has the right file, and so forth? So we want people to be able to make informed decisions versus best guess. We don't want people to have to go down the hall to somebody else with the more expensive system to find out how to get the data they need. We want to capture people's knowledge. So often, companies will look at us and say, well, you know, actually the one expert we have is nearing retirement. What are we going to do? So we try to help capture this information. We want to reduce barriers, eliminate you know, the number of resources needed, automate the tasks, reduce down the number of logins that you have so you don't have to go to 5 systems to generate one report. So it's about reducing costs, complexity, and if you need certain resources. And resources may not be personnel, but it may be technology that you've invested into, that you have a high price to. So if we look at the overall in the companies, what we encounter, notice the graphic at the top where it shows an extended enterprise, not just your company, but it goes extended out to the customers, partners, suppliers. And the first image it shows engineering, the power user, 4%. Now this information came from analyst articles that we've read, and those 4% in engineering are really referred to as designers, people that are making the product definition. Those are the kind of people that actually need a CAD application, the $30,000 seat of CATIA, because they're building the model. Though there's a lot of engineers that are traveling engineers, they're on-site at customers that may not need, they're not actually authoring or building that product definition, but they're investigating it. They need to know the dimensions. They need to know, be able to do a cross-section or find the volume, mass properties information. And then the same goes for sales. Giving a $30,000 CAD seat to a salesperson that's trying to do a quote and he just needs some basic information is pretty much overkill. So gathering product data, 36% of the time the average worker spends searching for and consolidating information. Included in that is going down the hall and interrupting somebody else that's doing their job that has access to the data. And it's not only in engineering, it could be going down to your financial department to know costing information. Tracking, 70 to 80% of the costs are created during the initial development phases. This is a stat that's been around for decades. We know that what you define up front is what's going to cost you downstream in production. Managing engineering data, those alternative systems, PDM, PLM, we're not saying they're bad systems. We're just saying, especially for a lot of the companies we deal with, that they're pretty complex. So if you really need it, you need to consider what the investment is. So for a medium-sized company, the price or investment starts around $750,000 to get the system in place. The amount of resources it takes and the equipment it takes to get started. Visibility and access to data. Greater than 80% of the information in the SMB market is spread across an enterprise. It's unstructured, or it's in applications that you don't have access to. Data discovery. 46% of the users are dissatisfied in the way they search for information. There's limitations in the applications they have today. When they want to search for finding duplicates, the only way they can search is based on part numbers. Well, you know, if you can't look at it from a physical model, you may have numerous duplicates within a company. And once we come in and look and do a basic audit for companies, we find out it's typically 10 to 20% of the parts in their library are duplicates. But why? So we'll talk to you of how you can uncover it, but also know why there are duplicates. What's causing that? Keeping product data in sync. Well, the cost of making errors can be pretty pretty costly for an organization. As an example, GD&T information. Okay, once it's entered in engineering, how does it typically get into an MRP or ERP system? It's usually manually typed, or maybe it goes into a spreadsheet, then gets retyped in. One decimal place error could be costly to a company. So how can you automate tasks to get that information from one place to another without human intervention. Next slide. So we're not saying there aren't alternative applications that can do different pieces of what we just described, or all of it. There are actually a lot of very powerful applications out there, and again, I'm not calling them as bad applications. I'm just saying that there's challenges to those technologies, and we're trying to help or complement investments you may have made or show you another way of doing the same. So a PLM or CAD application can be too complex for other people. Even an ERP can be too complex for people to use. It depends who you are in the organization. Or some of them are trying to address multiple industries, and by doing that, their technologies become where you have to change your business process to fit the application versus the application fitting what your business needs. Too expensive, high cost per user, time consuming for deploying, so you've got a lot of resources. We were just at an account the other day, and the customer is talking how the system they have deployed, they have 10 people dedicated to that application just at one location. It takes 10 people to keep that system up and running on a daily basis. Now, that's a pretty strong investment beyond the application itself. But the key in any technology, in our opinion, is about user adoption. If any technology, if your users do not adopt that technology, then it's not a good investment. You're not getting the returns that you need from that investment. So another example is a customer that we have that invested into 4,000 seats of an enterprise application. They'd never used more than 1,500 of those licenses. They thought they bought the wrong technology, they just couldn't get the job done. Until we talked with them, we worked through it, and they actually learned or realized it was all about user adoption. They were sold on the concept of an enterprise solution, but it's not an enterprise solution if people will not adopt it across the enterprise. Okay? So that becomes a difference. So what we like to say is there's a difference between a thin application and a deep application. Deep applications are built for specific needs. CAD application is a fantastic tool for a product designer, but it's not always the best tool for a salesperson, for management, for quality downstream. Okay? Same goes with the others. Even ERP applications, if you really look at a lot of the larger ERP applications, they're an acquisition of multiple smaller applications that are being put together and trying to work together, and they don't always do it. So you're going to have to look at those applications and see which ones really can get the job done for you, and there are those out there, but how do you share that information to other departments? That's why we work with companies like IQMS, where from an engineering standpoint, we're a great touch point front end to give them the information they need, and then they can handle all the production, all the financials, etc. So our thin application, what we've done is we went back and went from a CAD visualization company to building a solution that focuses on the 20% of what people need across an enterprise. That makes 80% of the impact. That's what our objective is. And that's what we've gone on to do. We're replacing a lot of static spreadsheets in companies that came in because people wouldn't adopt other technologies, so that we can help bridge a gap across this flow of data and files within an organization, so you have greater insight. In fact, if you look at it another way, when I say we focus on the 20%, I'm assuming most everybody online and here has used Microsoft Word, or even Microsoft PowerPoint, the Microsoft products, or Adobe. But if you start thinking about what percentage of that application do you ever use, it's typically less than 20%. So we are not here to say we're a PLM application. Some people refer to us as a light PLM. What we're here to say is that we're focusing on the 20% across an enterprise to make an impact on the business. So on top of that, what Actify has gone to do, our clients usually have multiple sites. We do have some that are, micro or small companies with a single site, But many locations have people in different locations around the country or across the globe. So when they're across distributed like that, there's a lot of barriers that you encounter. Bandwidth is things that normally IT takes care of for you, but there are limitations. If I'm in a country where there's a bad bandwidth, how do I get the information to those people? Or if I have people that are in Munich, Edinburgh, San Francisco, maybe they're all tech centers. How do I move a 2 gigabyte CAD file between those locations? Doing it across bandwidth will take the systems typically to their knees. So maybe they ship them, but they replicate the data. What we've done is made it so that it's a distributive architecture. If you've got the data and the files at a specific location, such as in Munich, we want to make it so that a person that logs in from San Francisco or Mexico or any other location can see that information and know where it's at. They can pull it up in a viewer and investigate it without bringing it local. They can see all the metadata associated with it through a CAD or through a browser on any type of platform. So we've made that possible so that we can keep the data where it's residing, and if you need to download or bring local, you can. Same goes for projects or for efficiencies. If I travel from Munich and I happen to be near San Francisco, when I log in, it's logging me in through the local system. Performance. So there's all levels of performance that we're introducing with what we call our distributive architecture. From a product standpoint, many people know us for our Spinfire application. You know, it's been an industry leader out there. It grows by word of mouth typically. But we also have our central products line. So what I'm going to show here is how we've moved from providing licenses to many companies that we have in the past to providing enterprise type solutions. So we've packaged our solutions to fit organizations. It's all about the collaboration, efficiencies, and cost reductions companies want to see. So in the first category, we refer to Enterprise CAD Viewing. That is our Spinfire application suite, whether you're talking about Spinfire Ultimate, which is a client-based application. It's client-based because it allows you to do investigative analytics type work on a CAD model. So you want to use the local computing power. But if you don't need to do that type of analytical work, then we have Spinfire Web, which is a zero download viewer. So you can cross-section, dimension, you can see GD&T data, you can see the CAD designer views as it was saved in the CAD system. You can do a lot of work with that right off a cell phone, tablet, Mac, PC, doesn't matter. So we're vendor neutral, handling all the major CAD systems. So it gives users freedom. Doesn't matter where they're located, so you can use it at work, on the road, at home. It liberates the product definition, so we don't need to have that extra CAD seat to access the data with our system. Analyze models without CAD. It has an MS Office integration, so it can run, the client version can run within a PowerPoint presentation, so it's a way of collaborating. Or if I'm doing quoting, it can run within the Excel file, so you don't have to go in and out of the applications. And it gives you basically full visibility across your organization. Is there any questions at this point? Okay, so that's what we refer to as Enterprise CAD Viewing. We want to get the tools in the hands of the people that need it and not worry about who gets it, who does not get it. So a lot of clients are getting unlimited licensing in that realm. So when I said also at home, the point being there is, in today's world, so many of us have to work extra hours. You know, you work during the day, but you want to go home and see your kid's sporting event. But you know you got to get something done. You don't want to have to drive back to the office. So you can get access at your home machine and use the tools. Or if I'm traveling, I need to have access on a plane, or I'm going into a client where I don't have internet access because of their security. How can I work inside that facility? Next, our central foundation is a stepping stone basically going to the PDI toolbox. And what I mean by that is central foundation is taking our central application and what we used to refer to as our CAD publishing application and taking it to the next level so that I am now able to do file sharing and collaboration. So at that level, I can automatically process all types of tasks, data, and it's no longer about CAD information. It's about any file that you have. So if I bring up a product structure of my assembly and I'm looking at a gear component, I can now associate any file to that component. It could be video, audio, it could be spec files, it could be the quote for that individual component. And now I can do a where used. Where else is that gear used in any other assembly? And all that information goes along with it. It has secure login access, so access and control is important. It defines what people can see when they log in. Okay? What I mean by that is I could give an external customer login access, and it kind of becomes an FTP site on steroids. You can upload data, you can download information, you can only see what belongs to you or what I'm allowed to work on. It has a visual catalog, so I see a visual image of every component I have. It has the naming conventions with those. And let's see. Yeah, the concept here is talking about reaching outside the office is now I'm taking, instead of from enterprise visibility, I'm now doing an extended enterprise visibility of information. So this is handling all your files. And it's based on that distributive architecture. The third tier is the Product Data Intelligence Toolbox. And what does that mean? It means that I can take this enterprise CAD viewing, which, by the way, I should have mentioned CAD file interoperability. If you've got, let's say, a CATIA model or any of the major mechanical CADs, some systems downstream need alternative formats. They may need a STEP format or a JT format. We can translate those files on the fly for you. Or it could have the system process and do it for you in advance. Could be a 3D PDF file that I need. Instead of going to a CAD application and investing their time to make a file format translation, we can do it for you. So these first two columns, Enterprise CAD Viewing, Central Foundation, are the building blocks that go to the PDI Toolbox, where in this case, we are now adding content from all different data sources. We're also adding CAD properties that are automatically extracted from the CAD model, such as bounding box information, master properties. So all that CAD-related information is now being extracted. GD&T information is being extracted. What has helped in that case, we've had a client that used to get 50 assemblies in at a time. They'd have to open them up one at a time to decide, what do I work on? This system automatically processes all this information, gives you a visual catalog to see that. And I can compare, I could pick, let's say, 5 of those assemblies and have a comparison with all the metadata from other data sources right in front of me, so I can make an informed decision and not waste my time. It gets into advanced searching capabilities, so I could search basically on bounding box information or on material information. It also has that 3D indexing, so I recognize every model and automatically tell you if you already have duplicates of that part based on its physical shape and not just part numbers. Or is there anything similar? Plus, now that we're building a kind of a database of information that's coming from all different sources, I have what we call a data grid, which is self-reporting. I can pull up a listing of all the data fields, fill in the boxes, and it now exports to me or presents to me all that data in a report. I don't have to go down to IT to ask them to do it for me. Content exporting, so I could start exporting, which means our piping of information between our system and other applications is possible. BOM management, so in the client version, I can bring up models and overlay them physically and visually see the models and see a difference, correct? Well, in this, we go to the next level and say, I want to see the BOM structure. So when General Motors sent me a CAD model 6 weeks ago, and they sent me a new version today, how often do they actually ever tell you what the differences are? Normally they don't. So here's a quick way to bring up the two BOMs. It gives you a visual comparison of the two. Or maybe I want to take an engineering BOM and start producing my manufacturing BOM. And then the last is getting into dynamic reporting. So everything up to dynamic reporting is what we like to refer to as out-of-the-box type solution. automatic processing, user interface work. The dynamic reporting is those spreadsheets you've been using that are static, maybe I want to start moving those into being a dynamic report that's tied to the database that has version and history control. You know, the system has check-in, check-out control. It can manage your files, control people from overwriting the data. The dynamic reporting, we are doing things for quoting. We've done job sheets, which you'll hear about. We've done Gantt charts so that you can see an overlay of all the projects, all the personnel for this client. What is the impact? By location, what's the impact? Do I have capacity? So again, it's all about collaboration, efficiencies, cost reduction, because we want to bridge the gap. You've got the data. The data is in your organization already. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just trying to help give you insight into your existing operation. So bringing people closer together to their disparate information, what kind of makes us unique? 99% of the applications that you're using today are using a relational database. A relational database, if you think of it, is a grid of information that is good for storing and retrieving in an application. That's all it's going to be doing. You pre-index it. It takes time to index, but it's not great. It's changing constantly, so it kind of slows down. But you also have to pre-program it. We use what's called a graph database. A graph database is actually an old math that's been around. And we tried doing it the old way with a relational database, and it just didn't work. What we found is this graph concept is what a lot of the internet technologies are using. It's how they're connecting information together. Amazon. If you look at Facebook, Facebook's a technology that is just growing rampantly. But it's the idea of I can connect to Chris Jones here, and Chris is connected to Jim Vassell, and we can see information between us, other contacts they may have. We just did the same thing, only instead of being Chris Jones, it's material. Instead of Jim, it's a CAD file. For me, I'm the specification. It doesn't matter. To us, it's disparate information or disparate files that are located all over, now connecting. The other great thing is, as I told you, a relational database, you have to pre-program. Graph database, we can build a database on the fly and connect it to an existing one. So one client we were working with, in 5 weeks we came in, they had a major issue, very large automaker, and in 5 weeks we delivered a solution to them that gave them insight into things they had not seen before. And they came back, boy, if we could just connect our warranty database to it, we would get so much more information from it. All we simply did is create the warranty database as a graph connection and plugged it in. So less obstacles, greater visibility to the operation. We're not trying to replace systems. Sometimes we do replace some seats in an organization, you know, for some of the more complex tools that we're trying to reach everybody that just don't. But usually we're complementing existing systems, so you get a greater investment out of them. Because if you've invested into them, that data you've generated isn't generating enough results if it's not reaching the right people. So it's a tool to drive business forward. And last, I want to emphasize this. People ask me, what does it cost? And simple, it usually will cost you the price of a cup of coffee per user per day. Put that in perspective. Our entire system, adoption, training, the database that we use is all included in the system. Even as you grow, the distributed architecture is all included based on that cup of coffee per user per day. Now, if I look at a CAD license like CATIA, an average CATIA license, if you look over 4 years, the average price on it, $30,000 for the license, $6,000 a year in maintenance. It averages $50 per user per day for one CAD format. We're the price of one cup. Okay, we handle all the major mechanical CAD formats. We don't do everything they do, but we do 20%. That makes a big difference. And if I try to compare a PLM system to it, well, you can see the cups of coffee will probably increase. So I appreciate your time. We're going to transfer this over. Thank you.